Hi guys, Doge here with a new video, and this video will be a Affliction Warlock PvP guide video for the War Within. I'm gonna try to do a concise guide, but you know, sometimes it does take time to explain stuff so you can understand as much as you can. We're gonna talk about stats, we're gonna talk about the builds that I'm going to run. Mainly I only run one build these days, but I'm gonna explain everything. And then we're going to talk about the PvP talents, we're going to talk about the rotation you should go for, and of course some macros here and there if you so desire, and tips and tricks. Now I think Affliction Warlock is in a great state meta-wise. You can do very well, especially in Soul Shuffle, whenever the queue pops, because this is like a very long queue. I wanted to first do a Soul Shuffle match and maybe put it in my guide, but we'll have to see if we can actually get a pop or not. In general, Affliction Warlock is a feels good caster that is 99% of the time focused, but your damage is still very high, although you are the focus. So that is a great thing. Let's talk about the stats really quickly. So we're going for a full haste build. We have some mastery because it does a bit more damage on your dots, but basically you could even run zero mastery. It doesn't really matter with how you deal damage, which I'm going to explain. This is like nice to have, but really you want to have full haste and full versatility if you can. Crit is something you want to avoid, but I have 182 crit. It is what it is. And for the 4-set, I do play 4-set. I actually like it. It's like 7.5% increased damage dealt, and it does proc often, especially if you are like free casting Malefic Ruptures. It does proc often. Malefic Rupture increased also by 5%, and critical strike chance also increased by 10%. It does feel like it can actually burst down. So if you're like able to do like a Malefic Rupture spam, you're going to like destroy people. We play with Authority of Rage and Power, and I do play with the elemental focus lens embellishment, and we do play with precog, which is I think very mandatory as Affliction Warlock because you are bound to get kicked, so at least get maybe a stun like immunity or a CC immunity if they manage to kick both at the same time, which is quite often in Soul Shuffle. So we did discuss the stats, we did discuss the embellishments, we did discuss also the tier list and also the tier set. So now let's talk about the build. So we did manage also to do a Soul Shuffle, as you have seen on the video, and I'm going to post a separate video for that because it was a very long match. I don't want to make a super long video as well on this one. But it is a very interesting match to watch, so I'll post it for sure. I'm not going to spoil how it went, but I'm in a good mood. We are playing Affliction Warlock, so we are playing with everything that will give you as much damage as possible. We play a Fell Domination, very interesting because you are going to be able to Fell Dom, Fell Hunter to get like a second kick, which is very valuable, very strong. So you'll get a lot of benefits from that. We have Mortal Coil, obviously, but you could also play Howl of Terror if you want to. Personally, I prefer Mortal Coil because it gives you like literally a potential kill because of that. You could do that on the healer or you can do that on the kill target. I play also with Nightmare, so my fears don't break with my dots. I don't like that, so I do have that. I have reduced damage instead of like the CD. You can take the CD, but the games are not that long. I don't feel like you get like a second unending resolve, and you use it tactically. It's not like you're using it directly, so it doesn't really matter. Sometimes you're popping it 1 minute after the start of the match because you're not the target. So then you don't really win a lot of value because of the 45 seconds duration. We play with Big Dark Pact. It is really good, and it feels bugged to be fair, but it's really strong. We have obviously the Sargeray Technique and Soritar Guile. To be fair, I don't play with Amplify Curse, and it's nerfed, so it's not as good as before. And it was better before. I wish it was like a few years ago, but right now it is not as good, unfortunately. And we take, like, those are basic talents. I'm not gonna explain everything from the Warlock class tree. Everyone knows that. On the affliction tree, we're playing like the build that is going for as much damage on haunt, as much damage as possible on your malefic rupture, and as much damage possible on your UA, because we're playing single UA. Yes, yes, you could have rampant afflictions, but it does reduce 60% of your damage. But for example, on this game, UA is literally my top damage, and it is without dispelling, by the way. 15% of my damage it takes for 200k crit and 175k normal hit. It is very, very strong. This combination with corruption, combination with agony, and then your shadow bolt, nightfall procs, haunt, you do get a lot of damage. And your malefic rupture spams it whenever you can. It actually does a lot of damage. So try to play around that. In my opinion, you could play triple UA, but to be fair, it has been a while. I didn't see like someone play triple UA because in general, the dispel protection is really good, but it's not as important these days because I feel like I put my UA and then I do burst with my shadow bolts and haunts and whatever, and that is going to make me land a kill. It is actually just dispel protection for my buffs that are Withering Bolt, for example, having a 3 damage over time effects gives me 24% more damage on my shadow bolt. With my nightfall procs, with my haunt, it does give me a lot of damage in general. We take the talents that will improve my shadow bolt and my like overall damage. So we're taking also malefic rupture, increased damage. We're taking phantom singularity with the 10% increased damage whenever you're going to use it, which is always going to be nice. Cunning cruelty is still something you will have to take, even though it's nerfed in PvP now. It still does a lot of damage and is just boosting your damage on your shadow bolt. Like it will make your shadow bolt always do 1 million in total if you're like thinking every single proc. So it does a lot of damage. Grimoire of Sacrifice, I do play it. There is no reason to play Summoner's Embrace these days. Summon Dark Lair, except if you're playing Destruction Warlock with Succubus, but that's another like discussion. Summon Dark Lair with Malevolent Visionary. It still is one of the bigger burst windows you have if you're popping every single CD. For example, you're popping your UA, you do a Curse of Exhaustion, so you get your Agony and your Corruption. You put your Soul Rot into Phantom Singularity, into Haunt, and then you're doing your Dark Lair. So you get the Malevolent Visionary plus your double Shadow Bolt. That window is one of the most deadliest window you can have in the game. If you're like left alone, or even if you know there is no kicks, no stuns, nothing can stop you, and you have an ending resolve, you can literally just like one-shot people. People are aware now these days from what is happening, but like it's not like only the dots that are dealing the damage. The dots are still like running rampant. It does a lot of damage, but like your shadow bolts and your haunts like are. If it crits, it's really impressive, and whenever it doesn't crit, well, it does still a lot of damage. And with your Soul Rot, with Soul Harvest, which we're going to talk about a bit further down the line, it will give you your soul shards, which will also enable you to spam Malefic Ruptures. So even if you get kicked on your Haunt or whatever, you still have Malefic Ruptures because you already used your Soul Rod. So because it's a different school, you can get kicked on your Shadow School and still spam Malefic Ruptures as if nothing happened. It's really, really strong. I have Shadow Embrace. Obviously, we have Haunt, doing more damage with Haunt as well. Taking more fast with Creeping Death. We do play with Xavier's Gambit because of the increased damage on UA. There is a world where you could maybe play Focused Malignancy, but it doesn't have that much value anymore because I'm not playing with triple UA. If you have triple UA, then it's improving 15% on every single target. Now it's only on one UA target, which is, again, Malefic Ruptures, if you're winning with that, and you're killing someone with it, it's because really you had too much pressure, and it was bound to be a win for you. We're playing with Banning Omen, so every time you're going to do Soul Rot, which is going to give you Soul Shards, it's going to also apply an increase on damage on your Malefic Rupture by 20%. So again, your Malefic Ruptures on that window is going to hurt a lot because you have also a lot of like those procs from Soul Harvest that are going to help you with that. and like I'm going to show you as well on the dummy, single target even. I'm not going to even triple dot, like I'm going to do just single target damage, and you're going to see the potential it has. And then you have Dark Harvest, which is going to give you more haste and more crit for each target affected by Soul Rot. It is more effective whenever you're singing a BM, for example, although you prefer no BM lobbies. But if you have like 2 or 3 targets, it actually helps you with dealing gross damage. You could also say, look, I don't need that, which is fine. I respect that. Oblivion is not that worth it these days because it does cost too much soul shards, and these days you want to do Malefic Ruptures. I would say Oblivion is quite good if you're playing Hull Color, because then you don't have the need to always Malefic Ruptures to get like all the procs away. But even then, it's really easy to stop, and sometimes you want to like cancel it because you want to like interrupt someone, or you want to fear someone or whatever, and it's not very flexible. Death's Embrace is not that good. Unfortunately, Drain Life is just now really a button you can actually say, look, I'm not going to press it once. I do sometimes press it because sometimes I have nothing else to press, and I feel like casting Shadow Bolt is like I really need to survive, or I need to actually get like as much HP as I can, although it's really low. It can help at the end, but really it's not that good. But if you're not playing Dark Harvest, you could play maybe Ravenous Afflictions, which gives you even more Nightfall procs. That is helpful, but again, you don't crit that often because you don't have like full crit gear or whatever. But whenever it crits, it has a chance to grant you Nightfall, which is quite good. Malefic Touch gives you more damage on your Malefic Rupture. You can count it as a 10% increase on damage, I guess, from Malefic Rupture, something like that, more or less. Like if Malefic Rupture does 600k, then it would do 60k increase, so 10%, maybe a bit more, depending on like scaling or whatever. And Relinquished will give you more soul shards, which is, it's okay, it's alright. Or you can play Focused Malignancy, 50% more damage on Malefic Ruptures, or you want to have like a 5% increase on Shadow Bolt, why not? But that's really flexible. You could also say, look, I want to play maybe an extra point in Contagion for more crit strike damage, or for more crit you can do Malediction. To be fair, you don't really have too many points over, so it's difficult to take something away. So I do prefer to play with Dark Harvest right now. If we're talking about Soul Harvester is the best hero talent by far. I think Wither is cool in a world where you would win with just pure dampening, and you would just like wither people away, and it actually does a lot of damage. And yes, whenever you have like the Blackened Touch, whatever, Blackened Soul, it does a lot of damage as well. But these days, I feel like I just win my games with Shadow Bolt. And what hero talent improves Shadow Bolt more than Soul Harvester? We have Necrolite Teachings, which is giving you more damage on your Shadow Bolt like baseline, but also your Nightfall increases the damage of Shadow Bolt by an additional 50%, which is nerfed in PvP if I'm not mistaken, but it is really, really strong. And then you have Friends in Dark Places, which is, again, nothing compares from on this tree, but this is giving you like a big shield. Like this is literally giving you like a second health bar if you're popping it very high, which you should, to be fair. It's really, really good, so I recommend people to play with that, with this hero talent for sure, because of that as well. Then you have also Wicked Reaping, which is Demonic Soul is increased by 10%, which is this talent, and it's whenever you're getting like a second soul, the damage is increased by 20% for your Malefic Rupture, but also unleashing a Demonic Soul, which is also an additional damage towards the enemy, which is really good because this is like increased by 10%. And also consuming Nightfall feeds a demonic entity within you, causing it to appear and deal 186k shadow damage to your target. So I'm going to give you an example before we continue. We have Shadow Bolt here. Wicked Reaping is the damage from the Nightfall procs. So whenever you get a Nightfall proc, you get, for example, 700k Shadow Bolt damage. You would say, oh, 700k it's manageable, right? Yeah, it's manageable, but if you're thinking about Wicked Reaping, boom, it's another 200k, and then you're thinking about Shadow Bolt Volley, boom, a 200k. So you see, a lot of stuff are like tied together, which will just improve the maximum capacity of Shadow Bolt damage. I'm not even counting the dots. So you see that just by itself nightfall procs, and what hero taunts gives are like procs on procs, and it does a lot of damage. So yeah, it's not even a chance on, it just is like consume it at nightfall, you will get more damage, point on the line. And then you have here your soul anathema, which is like one of the best passives in the game, like literally a passive over a hero taunt that gives you 7% more damage like overall, which is, I think people don't realize how strong some hero taunts are. I think Soul Harvester is one of the stronger ones. And then you have Shared Fate, which is when you kill a target, it's tortured, so it's only affecting whenever someone is dying. But you also have a good thing, which is consuming Nightfall procs again, activates Shared Fate or Feast of Souls. Obviously, Shared Fate is the one that you should play, and Soul Anathema does more damage and deals faster. So I'm gonna go back to my Shadow Bolt because again, I like to have some visual clarity. And this game, I wasn't really doing that well, but we still won. We Shadow Bolt 700k. We have Soul Anathema, obviously that's like the dot, which is always good. We have also Shared Fate doing 50k more damage. So you see, plus the 200k from Wicked Reaping, plus the 200k for Shadow Bolt a volley, plus also the Shadow Bolt itself. You have a lot of damage that is really tied together, and you can literally say a Shadow Bolt is equal to at least 1 million. If it crits to 1 million, then it is 1.5 million if you're counting every single proc that is tied to that Shadow Bolt. And then you don't realize how you die versus Affliction Warlock, but that is pretty much how you die, because they get a Nightfall proc and you didn't see that they were like literally going ham on you for some reason. It is what it is. It is it's a very sneaky spec. Like so you don't realize when or how you die versus Affliction Warlock. Here you have, for example, your Demonic Soul deals 100% increased damage to targets affected by your unstable affliction, which is one target. But if you have triple target, that's always going to be good. But you only have like one single UA in this build. Ethereal Servitude is quite good. Like having a 1.5 minute Fel Domination is great. Because obviously it will give you a very quick Fel Dom into like another kick, which is really strong as well. And then Corruption deals damage 25% faster, and Haunt, another overtuned, like this is like an overtuned hero taunt, guys, but it is what it is. Haunt grants you Nightfall, so you have so many like hero taunts that gives you like double things, that like literally Haunt granting Nightfall could be literally a standalone spec talent. But Haunt granting Nightfall, which is whenever you're having a Haunt on the enemy, you can directly send a Shadow Bolt, and sometimes you have two Nightfall procs, so because it stacks, so you could literally do Haunt, Shadow Bolt, and someone is included, plus all the dots rolling, plus also your Soul Rot, your Dark Glare, whatever. Someone is going to like collapse with that, and if there is no heal or whatever, it's really fantastic. And that's why Affliction Warlock is really a great duelist, by the way, because you can have a lot of damage, which is really resembling to a Destruction Warlock. Shadow of Death, which is, I think, the most important talent in on 3, in my opinion, because whenever you're going to do a Soul Rot, you're going to gain 3 Soul Shards that each contain a Succulent Soul, so it means that you're going to have 3 Demonic Soul procs on the enemy, plus the increased damage on Malefic Rupture. So it is a very good hero taunt 3. I think people don't realize it. And now let's talk about PvP taunts. It is really set in stone, to be fair, for me. I play always Jinx. It is too comfy to use, just like my Curse of Exhaustion. People is slow, but also getting damage. You could literally also do a Curse of Tongue and it would work the same, which is really strong. I play with Rot and Decay, so every time I'm going to do a Shadow Bolt, it is going to increase the duration of my dots, because again, I do tend to do a lot of Shadow Bolts or even Nightfall procs Shadow Bolts, so it does make me not have to reapply my dots every single time. And then we play with Nether Ward because it is a caster meta. We get a lot of like those casters in my groups, so I do get like my Nether Ward to be able to freely cast spells, so they cannot interrupt me, for example. Or they're going to do a big Frostbolt for Firebolt or whatever, I do a Nether Ward and it's going to go back to them for 800k. So it's very strong. And if I'm playing versus a all physical damage dealing ability, like all physical damage dealing lobby, which can happen, I would then play with either Gateway Mastery or Impish Instincts. A Gateway Mastery to make my Gateway 1 minute, which is really strong as well. Impish Instincts because I will have then a TP way faster. Again, like it's really shaving like around, I think 6 seconds. No, 6 to 9 seconds, I think, if you're counting it correctly. Maybe a bit more actually. But it's really strong. Like it gives you more mobility basically. Soul Rip I never play it. Soul Swap I don't play it anymore, to be fair, because I'm playing single UA, so it's very easy to just curse, UA someone and then swap UA on every single time I swap kill target. So it's really fast. And then Shadow Rift very strong versus like in like solo queue RPGs, because then you can like displace people and they could like maybe farm. SS Drain was good because you would drain life a lot. Now you don't really drain life a lot, so it is not as good as before. Rampant Afflictions, I don't play it. So to be fair, like I'm gonna be honest, I never play Rampant Afflictions. I think it's silly to have UA deal no damage. Now my UA is always top damage and it feels good. So Call Observer, quite nice if you are playing versus a caster that is just like spamming spells. And just forgets to kill it, but at higher MMR it just gets destroyed directly, so you don't get a lot of value on it. But if you manage to, I don't know, man. No, I think it has no value because it just gets destroyed directly. If it actually survives the whole duration, then it becomes like very strong, but people just notice it and destroy it directly because of weak auras or whatever. And Bonds on Fell, unfortunately, you don't really scale well with fire. First, and also 30-second CD. If it was 15-second CD, why not? And if it was actually a dot, it could be better. But like for example, Ring of Fire had like a maximum HP dot. It would be better than what we have with Bonds of Fell. So there is my PvP talents. Let's talk about the rotation. I think that's the most important thing. At the start of the match, you want to like Curse of Exhaustion everyone, pretty much, if they're rushing you. And if you have the time, 1 UA. And then you try to like put your, of course at the start of the match, gateway, and you put your portal, and you then try to use your Curse of Exhaustion and your dots. You try to reapply your dots. And whenever you feel like, okay, I have my main target and I can't cast my Unstable Affliction, just do that. And if you have Nightfall procs, just spend it. Okay, that is like literally the rotation. And whenever you get like a free Malefic Rupture because of this talent, Tormented Crescendo, which is like one of the best talents in the game, to be fair, like it's like a lot of liberties. This is really good. Once you have that, just like spend it. It's like free damage. It's like without casting, and people don't notice how they die. Literally, that's Affliction Warlock is not really flashy. Like, so if you're doing damage, or for example you're doing a Malefic Rupture, they don't know how the damage is doing because it is not something that flies onto the enemy. So it's really strong. So that is kind of how you do your rotation, right? And if you feel like, okay, this is now the kill target, I reapply my dots, pretty much. And I reapply my Unstable Affliction. Oh, this one is the kill target, Unstable Affliction, Haunt, Shadow Bolt. That's a lot of damage. And then another Shadow Bolt because I have Nightfall proc. And then another proc from the Malefic Rupture, and you are good to go. And this is literally like really good damage. Like again, don't count too much Shadow Bolt on PvE because like on dummies you don't get like the increase of Shadow Bolt damage, but it is doing ×2 in PvP. So the damage is even higher in PvP than what it seems like. And this is like without bursting. But if you want to burst, you put again your dots. So I put my Exhaustion, Unstable Affliction, Malefic Rupture, why not? I do my Phantom Singularity into Soul Rot, Dark Glare, Malefic Rupture, Haunt, Malefic Rupture, Shadow Bolt, Malefic Rupture, Malefic Rupture, Malefic Rupture, Malefic Rupture, Malefic Rupture, on like Shadow Bolt again because I got a Nightfall proc, and then I can even do Shadow Bolts here and there. And this is like really my burst, and this is like a single target burst, guys. Malefic Rupture does 700k. High Beam from Dark Glare does a lot of damage as well. Sonathema as well. Unstable Affliction does more damage in PvP as well. Soul Rot does immense amount of damage. Like whenever you're going to cast it, it does a lot of damage. Agony does a lot of damage. Everything does a lot of damage. And you see, like, the go is a 1 million DPS go on a single target. Now imagine if you had like triple dots on everyone. So you have your Soul Rot on multiple targets. You have your Agony, Corruption, and your Crystal of Exhaustion on everyone, and then you have like Soul Rot, and you're doing your go. It does a lot of damage. Like, this is like unhealable. If you manage to do this and you have like a perfect go, it is unhealable, because then they have to literally use or overview use CDs, and the next go is just GG's. Go next. And that's how it goes. And how to survive, again, I'll make a guide for that probably, or like post soul shuffle matches where I do kite well. But pretty much what I do is, if my TP is here, I put myself on the other side, okay, and I manage to know, and I watch. Look, this is still lighting up, so it means that I'm like in range, okay. So if I'm in range, I can TP. I also play with the gateway control shard, so that's the tips and tricks part. It's an item you can buy with the regent vendor or whatever, and you can buy it. It's 100 gold, I think. But now I have like a icon here. I have a Shift X, so if I'm pressing Shift X, I gateway. Okay, so this is like really good, because then you cannot misclick. But if like the warrior is on me and I see him Blaze Storm, it's an instant TP. Instant. If I see him Blaze Storm, instant TP. Because it does a lot of damage. You don't want to have free damage. And you don't want to like face tank things. If you feel like, okay, they're targeting me, my healer is standing here, I'm gonna TP. Now, I cannot show you now because I'm like in a CD problem. So we'll wait 5 seconds. But if I'm like here, and my healer is here, and my other DPS is here, for example, I don't know, and I'm TPing, I try to stay in line of the healer. So the healer is here, I'm trying to stay in line, I'm gonna run like this. Or, depending on the situation, if the DPS are coming like this very fast, I don't want to go here, because then I have like nothing, right? I cannot take the gateway. So if they're going to go on, if they're coming on me, then I will just go here and take the gateway whenever I can. If they're going on my healer or my other DPS, I stand here, for example. If they are going on the other DPS and they're standing here, I'm gonna attack him, for example. Or if they're going for the priest, I'm gonna stand here. Alright, I'm gonna stand here as far as possible as possibly can. So if they are going on me, I can do another TP, I can just run like this. Okay, if it's double DPS like caster, you don't want to stand in line too much, although that's really a negative characteristic for me. It's that sometimes I stand too long in line of sight of the enemies. But as versus a caster, what you want is really play around the pillar, because you don't need too much uptime damage wise, like casting time, to deal a lot of damage. What you can do is, for example, like imagine the twice more is the pillar, because again it's too far, but twice more is the pillar. I dot him, stand here. Okay, now I can just use stable affliction. I'll stand here. If I feel like, okay, I'm gonna cast haunt, shadowbolt, standing here. If it's pushing me, I'm gonna fake capture. Oh, fake cast. Change your fake cast, like the timing of the fake cast, and then you can just like start doing damage whenever you feel like the kicks are gone. Or if you feel like it's never like kicking you, just try to cast, and if they kick you, then it is what it is. It's better to get kicked than fake casting till like tomorrow while you still are not doing damage, right? At one point you need to say, okay, I'm fake casting 3 times or 2 times. If they're not kicking me, I have to cast. Like there is no option. And sometimes you're changing it. Like 1 time casting, 3 times fake cast and then casting, or 2 times fake casting and casting, or sometimes just no fake casting, just casting. So you kind of like play mind games towards the warrior or DK or DH or whatever you're facing, right? Try to mind games a bit. And the same for a mage. Like the mage will have to understand like, okay, now I need to kick or I need to damage. So it's interesting. What else? Those are the tips and tricks, and I'll post a social fall video. Once it's live, you'll get a notification if you have like notifications on. But macro, let's talk about the macros. I play with Fireblood, use 14, but I don't play with use 14 these days. I have a focus fear macro. I have a pet attack at focus. If I'm playing like succubus with a destruction warlock, I stand my succubus on the healer, so I don't need to be careful of him or her getting cleaved by the melees, for example. Very good in twos, by the way. This is very good in twos if you're playing destruction. I have at focus spell lock macro, a focus seduction macro. Works with both. We have Fell Domination, summon Fell Hunter, so if I'm pressing, I have a direct Fell Hunter, I can kick again, and then I can just sacrifice it again. So you could kick with your own kick, cast Fell Hunter, kick again, sacrifice, and then you have like your double kick and you still have your damage. So very, very good if you are like managing to do that. Sometimes I often forget it, to be fair, but you should like try to incorporate in your gameplay if you want to be opposing to the enemy. What else? I have Soulburn, but this is like a macro I don't use anymore, and that's it. Yeah, so this kind of video. If you have any questions, please do let me know. Hopefully it was like shorter than I would like. I wanted to make a short video, but still a long video. But anyways, hopefully you did learn something. Have a great day. Bye.